Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio podcast. I am your engineer, Kate, and joining me this week is Kestrel.
Hello.
And Kane.
Hello.
And DJ.
Hey.
And we are all here to talk about the fall season of anime finally?
I mean, we talked about it once, you just weren't here.
Oh, okay.
But now it's over.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about news. We missed the Right Stuff sale, so we will not be talking about that. I hope you got everything you wanted. Everything was out of print. I don't know. Good luck finding any back issues of manga right now. Literally everything is out of print. Yeah.
I don't think I got anything anime actually this year for Christmas or myself. No, I think this might be the first time.
I am currently missing gifts from my sister, my niece, and my nephew, so I have no idea.
Get on that shit, Kate's family.
My family everything got jacked up this year because they're heading down to a New Year's Eve wedding, which I decided not to go to because new cat and COVID, but my parents are going, which is dumb. And so my sister and her kids are going, so everything's all fucked up. Thanks, cousins, for getting married on a.
Good thing you changed that.
Cousins. I did that once before, and you guys are like, wait, your cousins are getting married to each other? I'm like, no. One cousin is getting married to her longtime boyfriend.
It's a good thing we don't have a Patreon, or else they'd suspend us for that comment.
Ooh.
Anywho, enough about my life. How was everybody's holiday?
I got a sea turtle.
What?
That's the highlight.
No, that was the highlight. Yeah, it's. I also got engaged. But the sea turtle.
Yeah, who cares about that turtle?
Yeah, seriously.
No, it's it's kind of weird because Becca got me like one of those sponsor a sea turtle thing, and I can like track it, and I have like a tracking bracelet, and I can just see where my sea turtle is all the time. And I cried for like 10 minutes because it was such a good present, and I've always wanted one, and I was like, it just didn't even occur to me that you could just like do that, like you could track them. So I got a thing that I always wanted, and I cried, and then I got engaged like 5 minutes later. I didn't cry for that, but Becca did.
Was that the breaking point? You're like, this is the one?
Well, it was already decided at that point. Like, the way I did it, I hid the ring in my Christmas stocking so that, like, when I fucking finished pulling out all the candy and shit, I was like, oh, cool, ring, marriage. And then that happened. But, yeah, so it would have happened, sea turtle or not.
Well, that's good.
Not to overshadow that or anything, but I saw 26 sea turtles on a beach in Hawaii my first day there.
Oh my god!
Nice. Were they all
like
huge?
Adult sea turtles, or
yeah,
was
were
it
they
like
big?
There were like 2 babies. The rest were full grown.
Aw.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I love sea turtles.
Me too.
So does Caitlin. It is her favorite thing in the world.
That's good taste. I have a giant stuffed sea turtle, like a sea turtle plushie I got from the National Aquarium a while back. Because sea turtles.
Went there. I should have bought one.
If they sea turtles are the best.
Mine's name is Coral.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, Caitlin also got one of those adopt a sea turtle things, I think, last year for Christmas. It was named Leia.
Yeah, my dad definitely got one of those for one of his sister who's obsessed with turtles, and my niece. So that was really funny because it was like, here's this thing for my in her 60s sister, and here's this one for my niece who's 12.
Everyone loves sea turtles.
Everybody loves sea turtles.
Yeah, what's there not to love about sea turtles?
They're awesome.
I really can't think of anything.
Here. In the fall, they get cold stunned around here, and there's volunteers that roam the Cape looking for stranded sea turtles, and they bring them in. They take them to the New England Aquarium to rehab.
Yeah, the Baltimore Aquarium does that as well. They post it on their Twitter and stuff sometimes. Yeah, they handle a lot of the cold shocked ones, and then rehab them and send them back out into the wild. Except for the ones that have like the swim bladder problems that they'll get occasionally, where like their butts will float up into the water so they can't dive down, which is sad but also like adorable at the same time.
Yeah, that's it's just their butts. I had once. He didn't last very long. I was a kid. Nobody knew how to take care of turtles back then. Anywho.
That sounds like a dope gift, DJ. I didn't even know you could do that.
I love it. It's great. I also got a Bo Burnham's Inside tour shirt. There was never a tour for Inside, so the tour dates on the back, like all of the locations are like corner of the room, couch, and it's a good shirt.
That's
awesome. Pretty funny.
Caitlin got herself a record player a few weeks ago. And
yeah.
Bo Burnham Inside is near the top of the list of first vinyls to get.
Yeah, he does like I don't know if they're still printing, but he had a really like cool special edition version of Inside that I liked. I don't have a record player though, so I didn't buy one.
That shouldn't stop you.
Yeah, it didn't for a while. Like when I was in middle school and high school and stuff, I'd go to this old pawn shop in my town and buy like Iron Maiden vinyl and shit. This is before people like started using record players. So I was really cool. And then I just stopped. I also have a signed copy of Blizzard of Oz signed by Randy Rhoads before he died.
Oh, that's fucking dope.
Yeah.
Did you find that at the same store?
No, that my aunt gave to me. And she gave me a signed copy of Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare as well. Those are two things that I have.
Cool aunt.
The cat has just pushed away in the room and is screaming at me.
That's because the cat wants also a Randy Rhoads autograph copy.
I guess so. I didn't think she was that big of a fan. Are you happy now? You open the door? Okay, great.
Well, Castro, I'm glad at least one of you is enjoying the record player.
I mean, the only thing we have to play on it so far is Cowboy Bebop, and she hasn't seen Cowboy Bebop, so it doesn't mean that much to her. So I guess I'm enjoying it more than her so far.
I was buying Christmas presents at Newbury Comics, and they had just... I walked past a nondescript pile of, like, gray boxes, and I'm like, what the hell are those? And then I looked and I realized it was all record players. Just stacks of record players. And then at checkout on one of those spinny racks where they sell, like, dumb keychains and shit, were, like, replacement record player needles and shit. Don't mind me, a cat jumped on my pants.
How often do those need to be replaced?
Yeah, they do, but not nearly as often as what people think unless you're playing a lot of vinyl. Yeah. Or you take really bad care of the needle, like you drop it from like 3 feet up onto a record or something like that, which can hurt it. But if you take all right care of it, you can get tons of hours out of them. I think just it's one of those things that people will tell you will increase the audio quality if you replace the needle, and it's super easy to replace, so people will just buy them and then convince themselves that it sounds better.
Gotcha.
So that's probably why those are there. But
do we have any news?
We do. We have
a
bit of news for new anime announcements in the past couple weeks. So the first of them, Makoto Shinkai has revealed his next film is called Suzume no Tojimari. It is coming out fall 2022. Masayoshi Tanaka is returning to design the characters as he did for his last two films. That's about all we know about it, but that's always cool.
I'm sure it'll have very pretty skies and lots of melodrama.
It had, doors? It was talking about doors and portals or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the theme, yeah.
Sounds
yeah,
good.
so. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be pretty.
I'm down for any of that.
Yeah, we'll see if it's something new or just the exact same thing again.
Yeah, probably. But, it'll be a love story or...
A teenage love story.
When was the last episode of this podcast? Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
At least 2 weeks ago.
So, yeah. Okay. So you guys didn't talk about Sayaka Kanda then, right?
That is correct.
Okay. I have a piece of news then. Sayaka Kanda, a Japanese voice actress, died at 35 after she fell off the, I think, 14th floor of a hotel building. And it is very sad because she was still extremely young, and it's strange because the first thing I think that I recognize her name from, because it's an actress I'm not super familiar with, but it is a series from earlier this year where her character dies in a tragic accident, and it's really fucked up that this happened. And yeah, I guess people die and we don't expect them to, and it is sad.
Was it so you
suspicious as hell?
So was it a hotel balcony deal? If you said that,
I believe so. Yeah, they didn't publish like full details of it, but it just said she fell from a 22-story hotel in Sapporo and just died like that day.
That's a terrible way to go.
Yeah, so fucking random too.
That's like instantly suspicious in my brain, because that's not a way people just die usually.
It was investigated as a probable suicide, but they haven't confirmed anything, and they haven't ruled out foul play either. So it's really anything could have happened. But yeah, it's not just like it's hard to believe that something like that is just an accident. And I'm sure I know what happens sometimes, but it's just so random.
I mean, it is certainly a thing that happens with suicides in Japan a lot.
Yeah.
With young people, so it seems like a probable thing to suspect. But yeah, obviously no way of knowing.
Not a great happy note.
On to happier notes, more anime announcements. Tokyo Revengers is getting another season. Actually, I don't know if it's been announced that it's a TV season, but most likely they're adapting the next arc in anime anyway. Yeah, I think that's about all we know about it. Other than that, Tatsuhisa Suzuki will not be returning as Draken, as he has been recast in basically all of his roles in the industry. But yeah, that's happening.
I thought that was already confirmed for another season, but that's probably just me watching it and being like, oh yeah, that'll get another season because it was good and popular.
And ended on a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
I heard that I think the manga's ending soon too. Mm-hmm. I don't know how far ahead it is, but yeah, I'll watch more of that. That was fun.
Yeah. Next announcement. So we've got a few from Jump Festa. So it was announced a while ago that Bleach would be returning in anime and adapting the last arc of the manga, the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. And it is confirmed that it will be fall 2022. Piero will be animating it, as they have all Bleach anime. Different director, not Noriyuki Abe anymore, which is too bad because he's a really good director. But most of the rest of the staff is returning, I think. The character designer, I think one or two others have been confirmed. So yeah, that's happening. That arc kind of sucked, but I'll watch the rest of Bleach. Hopefully it'll be a good adaptation.
There was a time in my life where I almost got into Bleach, and then I pulled back at the last second, and then I was kind of glad I did, because that was an investment I was not willing to make.
Yeah, you probably didn't miss that much.
No.
I remember watching it in middle school and stuff, but only ever up to when they rescue Rukia, and then you get the first big filler arc, I think. Because luckily the internet was around at that point to tell me, oh, this is a big filler arc, and I was like, oh, well, I'll watch something else then, and I'll come back to this, and then I fucking never did.
Yeah, at least you don't have to worry about that anymore, since the manga is long over.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, Shiro Sagisu is also returning to compose music, which is good because he is a very good composer.
What's next?
Next piece of news from Jump Festa. Rurouni Kenshin is getting a new TV anime by Leiden Films. That's pretty much all we know about it. Hasn't been confirmed if it's a full reboot, but that seems likely. I think, yeah, so, all of the previous Rurouni Kenshin anime was produced by Studio Dean, and most of it, maybe all of it, was directed by Kazuhiro Furuhashi, who is a very good director and is directing the upcoming Spy Family anime. So I'm guessing he will not be returning either. It's possible that it's a fresh reboot with nobody returning, which is too bad. Leiden Films is a little concerning. I don't think they've really made anything good except Tokyo Revengers, but that is one of their most recent things, so hopefully that bodes relatively well for the future.
I'm done with that franchise and everything related to it, so I don't really care.
I'm assuming it would just be like a remake, because isn't everything animated already? So it isn't like there's new original content, unless there's stuff that I don't know about, and I don't really pay attention to Kenshin as a franchise, so if there is, I wouldn't know it, but...
Yeah, so it ended on a filler arc and did not adapt the last arc of the manga, so there's been hope for however long it's been, 20-something years, that they would go back and adapt the final arc, finally. Hasn't happened. They readapted the Kyoto arc again in an OVA 10 years ago or something, but they've never gone back and done the final one, so, it could just be that, but after all this time, with a new studio and everything, I'm guessing it's going to be a reboot.
Or not. You never know.
It could be the Kyoto arc for a third time. It's entirely
Yay.
God.
possible. Fourth, if you count the live action.
Once again, yeah, the creator of Rurouni Kenshin was caught for child pornography, so, your mileage may vary on how much you're interested in that, or if anybody here is even going to bother with it. So.
I mean, I will, because I don't,
You don't care about child porn?
Yes, that's exactly what I said, Kate.
100%. Got him.
I, don't ignore the existence of art because of shitty artists. So I still like Rurouni Kenshin, even though I don't like the creator. But that's fine for others to feel differently.
If they give it a similar treatment to like maybe the animation and art style in the same way that like Gundam Origin and stuff does, that could be interesting. Like, just make it look really nice, but in general, like, the story beats and, like, comedy kind of stay the same. It might be interesting, just because if memory serves, the original didn't have, like, fantastic-looking art or animation. At least the TV series, Trust and Betrayal looked better, but there was also OVAs. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if those were even made by the same people.
They were, surprisingly enough.
Oh, weird.
A very different style. It was the same staff, same studio, same director, everything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they made it look like a lot better, and then maybe made some small changes here and there for story stuff, to either make it more accurate to the manga or what have you, then it could be interesting. But I always am at least a little bit suspicious of remakes in that sense, because sometimes it's literally just like a copy and paste, and then it doesn't even look that much better, so it doesn't have anything to really contribute other than this was made in 2020 compared to 1996 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
I would imagine it will at least look significantly different, because production is so different now than it was back then. But
I guess different is a good keyword.
Yeah,
different is a good way to put that.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that the Shaman King reboot was not better and was worse, significantly so, by some people. So, yeah, could always go that way. Like I said, the original, obviously the prequel OVA that you mentioned is much better, but I like the TV series and how it looks, its animation, its direction, and everything, so... Yeah, it could certainly be a step down. Definitely possible, especially with a studio that I'm not super excited about. And probably not the same director.
Hey, they made the 2016 Berserk, so you shut your mouth.
Yes, yeah. Well, it was like... That was a co-production between a few studios, most of whom had never worked on anything. But yeah, Light and Films was involved. So
yeah, I'm reading through their resume of sorts right now, and it's not exactly a ton of home runs up in here.
Right. Yeah.
They made one show I like a lot.
Terraformers.
Jesus.
No, not that one.
What is your one show?
I really like Love and Lies. It got a lot of shit though.
Right.
I think Emily may have watched Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches when that was on.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she said the same thing. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot here that inspires confidence. So yeah.
Tokyo Revengers was definitely the first time I was like, yeah, a little impressed, Layden.
You mean not Woodpecker Detective's Office?
Close second.
Close, very close. Anything else?
Next piece of news, an Odd Taxi movie has been announced, and it will stream on Crunchyroll. It is being released in Japan, I think April 1st, and there's no confirmation on when it will stream on Crunchyroll, but the fact that they have that announcement alongside the announcement that the movie will exist at all is definitely a good sign. It's not entirely clear what it's going to be, but it seems like it's probably going to be mostly recap with a little bit of new material that takes place after the story of the TV series. But anything more from that franchise is exciting, and I'm sure I will be talking about that series on our next episode where we rank our top anime from the year.
Yeah, I'm always surprised to hear how much love this thing got. I did not watch it, so obviously, I don't know a whole lot about it. It's just reading the synopsis and seeing the art. Everyone was going gaga over it and its themes and everything, which was definitely a shock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I didn't watch it when it originally aired, and then I finally watched it like 3 to 6 months later. And yeah, it is extremely deceiving and extremely good.
Well, very good news. More good stuff. Please, more good stuff. Less bad things.
Yeah. And last new anime announcement, just announced today, the key visual novel Summer Pockets is getting an anime.
I didn't know this. Oh, I'm finding out live. Oh my god, that's great. Did they say who's doing it?
No, they haven't said anything except that it's going to exist and it's being produced right now. Yeah.
This one I think can work as an anime.
Okay.
I feel like it's possible.
The last few should have been as bad as they were?
Do I think that they should have? I don't think anything should be as bad as they were.
Okay. So it's not that they were just really hard to adapt.
That's part of it. It's like that's part of it, but there's got to be a point where you're like, okay, you know what? In order to make it good, you have to take the Clannad route and you have to just focus on the canon.
Yeah.
But it's shit like that's more difficult with Rewrite and Little Busters in particular because the canon like requires everything to be done.
Mm.
So, and I guess Clannad too, but Clannad worked with the way that they did it, and I feel like Summer Pockets, if they focus on one of the heroines who I won't talk about, it can be a very good show. I'm just worried that they'll try and give everyone their own romance route again, which will ruin everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely hoping that it's not another disappointment, but I do not have very high hopes at this point.
It is a good visual novel.
I believe that. I believe the last two were as well. Anyway, that's all the news I got.
Sweet.
Dope. So I guess it's time we jump into the main event, yes?
Yup.
Very cool.
Boys. You have one job. Sell me on something from last season.
Yo, just watch, Ranking of Kings and fucking call it a day.
Yep.
Watch the Hockey Idol anime.
Yeah, definitely do that too. I fucking love that show. All 5 minutes of it. But no, Ranking of Kings is fantastic. I think it's one of the best of the year, and Kestrel obviously agrees with me. So I don't even think I have to sell you on it too much if you just watched it for a couple moments, because it's pretty dope. But
what's the plot of that? I know nothing. I know nothing about what happened in this fall for any of these properties.
Oh, cool. So, Kester, I don't know if you want to try and explain it. I don't know if you could do a better job than me, because I'm just going to be all over the place with it.
The problem is what the show is changes every episode. It is so off the walls.
Yeah, so the general plot is about a young prince who is deaf and mute and essentially trying to grow stronger to be the king of his kingdom once his dad dies, but the whole entire universe conspires against him despite the fact that he is a pure and beautiful boy.
Best boy. And he has a cool shadow slime friend that is basically a living bag of holding and can just eat and vomit up anything you could think of, like weapons, treasure, whatever, anything. But it's been great so far. Kestrel's definitely right in that the show changes a lot, and one of the best things about it so far, in my opinion, is the fact that so many episodes in, like 11 episodes, I believe, is where we're at right now. I still don't quite know who, like, the true antagonist is supposed to be, because everybody has all these different motivations, and, you know, their actions kind of betray those motivations sometimes, so they don't even know if they're the bad guy, and sometimes people are painted as the bad guy, and then they get a great little, like, background, not even an episode, but maybe just like a 10-minute little flashback thing, and you're like, oh, these people are actually good. So there's just a lot of stuff happening at once that makes it so much more interesting, because Boji, the prince, wants to become strong and everything, and kind of like defeat evil, but we don't even exactly know what that is yet. So it's great. He just got like his own little sword and everything, and it's cool. But that show has been fantastic. Basically, every time you're certain that a character is just the biggest piece of shit, the next episode will give them some incredible character development, and they'll become exceedingly sympathetic and compelling.
Like Boji's stepmom.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like, she seemed like a total piece of shit at the beginning of the series, and since then it's just been like, oh my god, this character is amazing, and I love her.
Yeah, and sometimes it's even with her, it was really small at first. Like, she didn't even get a whole episode at first. It was just when you realized that she was the one that was healing him after he got his ass beat. And I was like, oh, she does care a little bit. And then you get the background episode, and then as the story continues, she kind of goes more and more towards, I don't even want to say Boji's side, but she wants to help Boji, and as shit gets more kind of fucked up in the kingdom and in her life as the queen and as a mother, she kind of goes looking for Boji to fix things. So just as Kestrel said, a ton of characters start off as somewhat antagonistic, but then it turns out they had protagonistic motivation for doing it, or they had a plan that you didn't know about at that point in time, like Snake Man. Mm-hmm. Whatever his name was.
Bebin.
Yes, Bebin. With his great mustache and nose.
Lots of great noses.
There's lots of great noses. Kate, if you like a good nose, I said it before, this is the show for you. There's a lot of great noses up in here, because the art style is so unique.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't watch it. I feel like this is like another show, like Made in Abyss was the last one I can think of where I looked at it and I'm like, that looks silly, and then it winds up being like a really fucking good thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's happening again with this.
Most definitely.
Probably not like tonally. What is the tone of this show like? Because when I look at like promo stuff, it doesn't seem like it would be serious.
No, it's pretty serious. It's occasionally comedic, occasionally serious, occasionally dark, occasionally fever dreamish, and it's all woven together beautifully.
Yeah, it's definitely more serious than not, but it isn't. Yeah. It isn't heavy in its seriousness. Like, there is drama, but it doesn't make you feel like a lot of anxiety or stress in a lot of ways. So
I think there is. It's probably not too far off from Made in Abyss tonally, really.
Really?
Because you do have kind of cute, lovable characters who you get to have fun, happy times with, and then you also get some really dark, I would say occasionally traumatic material. But with Ranking of Kings, it's, I don't know, more abstract. Like, it's really bizarre, some of the shit that happens, and it still doesn't make any sense, but it's fascinating. So, that it's not just like...
list of traits that I enjoy very much.
Right, yeah. It's not quite as, like, harrowing all the time as Made in Abyss, for sure.
If I saw that Wit Studio was doing it in the beginning, I probably would have put it on my list.
Mm-hmm.
But I judge books by their cover when there is just so much fucking anime coming out. I just have to. I don't have time to watch previews or everything.
Well, the easy answer here is you just need to drop Kaginado or Platinum End and pick this shit up.
Yeah, I have. It's miraculous that I'm still watching Platinum End. So.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at now I realize why I didn't even think about this show is because the promo art is the kid sitting on a throne in his diaper, basically.
He is the sweetest, most precious little boy.
Yeah, I remember looking at that and then thinking, what is this pedaluro bullshit or something? I think a brain went out of my brain the other direction.
Could not be any farther from that.
Yeah, that does happen. There's a reason why he ends up in his boxer shorts, but it's basically like right at the beginning, and there's a good reason behind it. It kind of is like the foundation of a very important relationship that Boji creates with basically the only person who can understand him, since Boji is deaf-mute. If he does vocally communicate, it's mostly through like grunts and squeaks and shouts and things like that. And one of the main characters can somehow understand him, but that's also never really explained, I don't think. It's just like, oh, I understand everything you're saying, fine. Moving
he's
on.
Also a puddle and no one questions it, so it's cool.
Yeah. Well, he's like a puddle from a tribe of puddles that used to be assassin puddles.
Yeah.
Yeah. They sliding along the ground like a little pool of oil.
And everyone's like, this is normal.
Yeah, this is fine. Everything else is humans and orcs and shit, and then we have these little puddle people.
Yeah, it is a really great high fantasy world, and it's still just like scratching the surface of its world building and plot building, because there's just so much revealed every episode.
Yeah, what we just got through right now essentially is like a training arc of sorts for Boji, where he goes to a Mr. Miyagi type sort of character that trains him. And man, it got so close to me thinking that dude was a fucking fraud, man.
Mm-hmm.
So close. My brother and I were talking after the end of that arc, and we were like, if this turns out to be another universal attack on Boji, I swear to God, gonna explode.
That's the thing. Once you think something might happen with a character, it just pulls a rug from under you and gives you the exact opposite. It's always surprising.
It also has a lot of really good animation that complements the art. So when we talked about it previously, one of my favorite parts is the art, in that it feels like a blend between like classic Disney and Tesca works.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has like a lot of really fluid and nice animation, and sometimes, and we talked about this too, like especially in facial animation,
mm-hmm.
the stuff feels like so incredibly well done and smooth in the most, like this show typically is, like unconventional places. Like it isn't just really good animation when there's a fight happening. It might be a piece of animation within the fight, but it doesn't have much to do with the fight itself. It's like a movement somebody makes or shakes their head or something like that catches my eye.
Yeah, again, it all just adds to the character nuance.
Oh, totally. But yeah, this has definitely been the most fun show to watch as well, because Yeah, it's like the world seems really big, but also kind of like nice, like tight and contained at the same time. Like there's all these kingdoms and stuff, but the show takes its time kind of introducing you to them. So it isn't just there's 12 kingdoms and then it shows you every king of every kingdom and everything about how the world politics. It doesn't do like an exposition dump, which is really nice for its pacing.
I wish you hadn't said 12 kingdoms, because I'm like, I don't even think we saw all 12 kingdoms and 12 kingdoms.
You know, I got that for Christmas.
Ooh.
The Discotheque Blu-ray.
Nice.
Yeah.
But the show really does a good job of like carrying you along with the adventure, and you find out stuff about the world as it opens up for Boji, because at this point he's never been outside of his own kingdom, and therefore neither have you for the most part. So that's really nice as well, that I didn't have to like memorize all these people like right away in the beginning. Like it gives a chance for all the characters to breathe. So you can establish those motivations that they have, and not just, this is the bad guy, this is another kingdom that has a bad guy, this is another kingdom that's good but could be bad, etc., etc.
And because of that, in part, I think it's successful in keeping the twists coming so regularly, because, you know, you don't know that much about this world, so everything new that it reveals is just kind of a shock.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's great. You would like it. This is a Kate would like show.
Okay.
Kestra, what's been your favorite like mini sort of story arc type of thing so far? I'm curious. I don't really know what to call them, but just like, I don't know, little character development points.
I mean, in some ways the series just keeps getting better and better with every episode, but episode 2 still stands out to me with Kage's backstory. That was when it really cemented itself as like, oh shit, this is going to be real great. Because, yeah, that backstory is incredible.
It does make you feel a lot of surprising emotion for 2 black circles with 2 eyeballs in it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I like... It's an ongoing one, but I really like how King Daida at this point has, like, seems to have several hidden agendas going on, so that he is kind of the bad guy for his actions, but then it's sort of like we don't really know how he feels about the people that have enabled him to take those actions at this point, because of like what he tells folks about what he's going to do next, and he's just kind of outright about it, which is very interesting. So I think that's my favorite so far. Either that or the bar fight at the end of the training like time with Boji, when they go out and celebrate and they have that bar fight. I think that was really good as well.
Daida is definitely one of those characters who seemed shittier and shittier every episode for like 6 episodes, and then the most recent ones give him this backstory and these inner thoughts and some actions that he takes that kind of turn it around a little bit. But yeah, definitely every character has some shades of good and evil, except for Boji, who's a perfect boy.
Yeah, Boji is definitely perfect. 100% good. Well, luckily, Bebin was around to kind of help that along with Daida when he was, like, young, as we learned in the last episode, because Daida just had...
great flashback.
Yeah, well, Daida just had that, like, very... like, not surprising, like, elitism and arrogance built in because he was a prince, and then they take him into town and they're like, yeah, see, there's tons of people around here that are just as strong as you, they just don't have the same connections in a way. And strength isn't just about being physically strong. It's about being self-confident and, you know, overcoming adversities and things like that. Yeah, that was a really good flashback as well. Plus, you got to see Bebin in a funny hat, which was fun.
Also, the obviously the whole series has great themes and commentaries on disabilities, but they have some deaf staff working on it, making sure all the sign language is just right, and I think they're working with like the Tokyo Foundation of Deaf People or something.
That's really cool.
For that purpose as well, yeah.
That makes a ton of sense, because that's what I've been thinking about when my brother and I were watching it. We're like, this feels like it was done by people who know how communication works for deaf people. Like, it isn't just they made up some weird sign language and then half-ass commit to it.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of care was put into the communication between Boji and all the people around him. So that makes sense. That's really cool. Yeah, that definitely sheds light on how that's so well accomplished.
Yeah, and they make sure that, like, you know, every time Kage needs to talk to Boji, he taps him on the shoulder so that Boji can turn around and read his, quote, lips, which is a weird claw thing that is apparently a mouth that can read.
It's also a hand.
It's also, a hand.
Yeah, it's a hand, and it's a mouth, and
yeah.
I'm sure it's a couple other things.
You know, they have stuff like that where, like, you know, if a character is wearing a helmet, then he needs Kage to translate, but if he can see their lips, then he can read them. Little attention to detail.
Yeah, I like the comedic timing the show has as well. I think it handles comedy in a way that is one of the reasons why another anime I'm watching bothers me sometimes, but it doesn't try to undercut drama with comedy, at least in my opinion. Like, if a moment is going to be serious, the show allows it to be serious, and comedy happens at a different time. Like, comedy happens maybe in the morning when everyone's waking up and the day hasn't gotten started, or at a pub later on in the evening. It isn't like the show gives you something really serious and then someone makes a dumb face.
Mm-hmm.
So it knows when to put the comedy in so that it's funny, but it doesn't feel like it's trying to undercut its own story currents. Yeah. Which I like, because there's another show I'm sure we'll talk about that does that a little bit, and it's the only thing that I don't like about it, but it does annoy the shit out of me when it happens. So yeah, the comedic timing in Ranking of Kings is really good as well.
Basically everything about it is good.
Yeah, There's a giant 2-headed, 3-headed snake.
Wait, so, 2-headed or 3-headed?
It's both.
Yep.
What?
Non-Euclidean snake.
So, like, 6-headed?
No.
I'm trying to, like, picture this. It just doesn't help because I can't visualize things.
If you watch the show, you'll find out.
Oh, God.
This is true. And it is continuing into next season, so we've got a full 2 cores.
Man, I fucking hope so.
Yeah.
It's about to get even better, so it'd be weird if they just ended it at 1.
Yeah, it's just, you know, not that many shows these days get a straight 2 cores out of the book, I
wish more did.
Yeah.
And I wish shows like
it used to happen a lot
didn't.
more. Yeah. What do you wish didn't get 2 cores?
Yeah. I feel like most of the time the 2-core shows I watch, like, don't deserve them. Like, fucking Beatless got 2 cores.
That is shocking.
But yeah, so if there's any one show here that we'll talk about, at least for me, because I'm obviously never watched as many as Kestrel or DJ, it's definitely Ranking of Kings. If you're going to watch any of them, Kate, it'd be that one.
Yep.
Alright, I will have to check it out at some point in my life. Eventually.
Make it a priority.
Oh.
Make it the anime you watch in the next year.
There we go. No, I am planning on... Well, if anybody picks it up, I'm planning on reviewing a show next season, so...
Alright, well, Kestrel, if you're finished, unless you have anything else to say, we can move on to something else, because I've pretty much said everything I can about Ranking of Kings at this point.
Yeah, we can move on.
Cool. Dope. I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to know why DJ is still watching Miracle-chan.
Well, it's over.
Well, watched, I guess, to the end or whatever. Like, did it get better?
It did. It got significantly less fan servicey later on, which is what I wanted. It was still present throughout the entire show, and because of that, it was not great. But it does develop a coherent story, and the last half of it, or the second half of it rather, it focuses up, and it's a lot easier to enjoy because it's not just like, here's a skit and butts. I enjoyed it, but there's really nothing special about it, apart from the fact that it is intense body horror and comedy, which is a combination that you don't get that often. and a lot of the horror that was in it was really effective, but not in a horrifying way. It just looked really cool while maintaining that lighthearted tone, which is it sets Miroku-chan apart from other series, I guess, because it's such pure horror, but it never feels like it is horror, and I just don't really get that apart from like several Junji Ito manga.
Yeah, that was for sure for what I did watch before I dropped it. The strongest thing I thought I had going for it was the ghosts and spirits looking all super fucked up.
That's why I got the manga. Like I opened it up and I looked at a few of the panels and I'm like, these things are fucking horrifying. But then like you actually get into the series and it's like, okay, well they're less horrifying because I know there's never any real threat of them.
Yeah, the one I remember the most is the from the anime. I'm sure it's in the manga too, but was when she goes to get like a soda or a drink and she drops the coin and she follows it and there's that big like bald old man thing.
Yeah, that was in the show.
Yeah, was that in the manga too, or was that like a show?
Oh yeah, it was in the manga.
Oh, okay.
I think it was the first volume where it was just like a mini chapter. I could be wrong though. I could just be misremembering. It was definitely there.
Nice. Well, I'm glad it got better because that was the big thing that I really didn't enjoy about it was the sheer amount of oddly placed fan service. Not even fan service, but oddly placed.
Yeah. And I especially hate when shows do that in the first couple episodes as just like they wait for like a GIF of the show to go viral or something and the people watch it just because like there's a butt in it. And I hate when that tactic is used, but at the same time I'm a hypocrite because I also used that tactic to get people to play my game. It's a necessary evil at times, and especially for a series like this where the creator started it without really any mission in mind. It was just kind of like a one-off thing that got serialized. I guess it makes sense that he had to do things like that while he figured out what the story was going to be. Overall, it was a pretty average show. I won't buy it or anything, but if you're looking for horror comedy, it's fine. You can watch it.
I like the idea of them trolling the internet for a viral GIF and then just being like, all right, shut the butts off.
Yep. It's weird because that's actually how it works.
Well, I'm glad to know that it got at least a little bit better so that it turned into a 7 from whatever the fuck it was before.
Yeah. I think it was a 6. I don't think I ever had it lower than a 6 just because I was biased, I guess. But yeah, I am glad that I watched it at the end of the day. It's cool like seeing because I'm not a person who reads a lot of manga that I haven't already experienced through anime. And so this is one of the really rare occasions where I was able to do that. And I always like when things like that happen.
Splendid. Well, we can move on then. I was just curious because I know that neither of us liked it when we first talked about it. But I saw I was
very worried, but it got better.
Yes, I saw you wrote out the storm and finished it. So.
It was worth it.
I wanted to hear about how that journey went. But we can certainly move on to something else if there's anything that either of you would particularly want to talk about. I know that we're all watching. I know we're all watching Demon Slayer.
We are all watching Demon Slayer,
so we can talk about that if you'd like.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Mugen Train first because I didn't see the movie, so this was my first time experiencing it, and unfortunately, I did have the thing that happens spoiled for me, so that wasn't a big surprise, and I feel like that kind of ruined the impact of that moment.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, so it's like, okay, well, I can't be sad because I already had time in my head to deal with this, but it's hard to talk about the ending of that arc without spoiling stuff. I mean, after everything is said and done, and I think it was the first episode of the new arc when Tanjiro goes out and tells people about what happened. That episode, I think, was one of the better ones in all of Demon Slayer. it was just super emotional and heavy in a way that's not really reliant on action, but more reliant on interpersonal drama. And that's a thing that I really like. So I'm glad that episode happened, and I think that it was a really nice, seamless segue into where we are now.
Yeah, I'm really interested. I hope they go back to Rengoku's family a couple times, because I want to see what's up with his dad more, because it feels like there aren't many people in that universe that can say that I was a former Hashira, because most of the former ones are dead. Mm-hmm. So what happened? Like,
it might just be that. Like, it could just be the fact that, like, everyone he knows is dead, and then
he just quit
and left. But
I'm surprised. Well, that also brings up the interesting point I would want to know too, is do they just let you quit?
Apparently.
Yeah, say they you just put in your 2 weeks notice and turn in your equipment and then you leave. They escort you out of the building with your shit in a cardboard box. So I want to know, because obviously there's a lot of hurt there, and there's a lot of trauma there surrounding just that family lineage with the fire breathing techniques and the demon slayer core and stuff, that I want to know. Yeah, was it some type of trauma of seeing all of his comrades get killed that just forced him to quit, or what have you? Since I don't think does the universe even have anyone else that used to be involved with the demon slayer core that isn't dead?
Maybe, like,
I don't know that they've introduced any.
Yeah, like, we'll meet some later, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I still want to see like what happens with his little brother as well. As I was watching it, and he was talking to Tanjiro about sort of the history of the fire, like the fire breath and the Hashira in their family lineage, I was thinking, well, at worst case, he could be like a historian, because he's not a good swordsman, so it'd be kind of interesting to have someone dedicate their lives to like the study and the preservation of the demon slayer core in their history, and he can almost kind of take on like a support role in that way, and maybe be like a research partner, like, oh yes, there's books about this demon, and I remember, almost like an information bank that they could rely on, because he does mention a couple times how like the Hashira records are kept immaculately, and we have all these books, and I remember reading this in this book, and it might be interesting to you. So he clearly knows things and is scholarly in that respect. So that's just what I was thinking. I don't know what you guys think he might be able to do, or if they'll even talk about him ever again. Maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah, I would understand if they didn't, because he's not. It's, I guess, insulting to him, but he's not really important to the story at hand.
Right. His purpose was to serve a story that is now concluded.
Yeah.
Maybe they could do like a quick flashback or like flash over.
Spin-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Like just a quick like, oh hey, this is what I'm up to now. Or
like, where are they now episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, the manga ended at the peak of its popularity, so, the anime has a limit after that. Who knows?
Oh, it's like actually over?
Oh, yeah, the manga ended like a year or two ago.
Wow, really? Okay, I thought it was winding down. I didn't realize it was done.
Yeah, like right when it became the biggest thing ever, the manga ended, which was shocking.
Yeah, that's interesting, but I guess it might have something to do with the original creator not receiving enough royalties from the animated series. They didn't want to spend that much time on it, but yet again, they're making mad money from the manga, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what went on. Maybe they just are done with their story, but it seems like there could be a lot to this, like, because this is the second row, or the second arc in a row, where we're kind of focusing on one Hashira, and there are a lot of them. So, I mean, I doubt that every one of them is going to get an arc now, which is kind of what I wanted. But, whatever. I'm sure, like, it ends well, because there haven't been any big missteps in telling the story so far, and there's no reason to really distrust it.
And even if it didn't have a lot of story left to tell, it's just shocking that they were allowed to end it when it became so popular.
Yeah, that's more surprising, for sure. Yeah, in a way though, it makes me want to watch it. Yeah, in a way, it makes me want to watch it more because I know that unless the production company screws with it, it's going to be a complete story that's probably ended well and towards the mangaka's desires and not dragged out over an extra 150 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, knowing that the manga's over, so this story is over, encourages me to watch it even more in a way, because it's like, yeah, this has a determined beginning, middle, and end, and it's not just going to keep going until revenue dies down and then they end it like shittily.
Right, abruptly.
Yeah. But yeah, what do you think of this new Hashira, the flashy ninja man?
It took me way too long to realize that his hair is white and that wasn't a bandana. Way too long.
Oh yeah. Huh.
Are you just realizing it now?
No, I knew that, but I could see how you would think that.
Yeah, well, you never see the back of it for the first few times, and it's like I don't know, it's a weird hair color to have. It's just pure white.
Well, they also do give him a big ass piece of jewelry on his forehead too.
And yeah, he's a fucking
Naruto
flashy
headband.
guy. I figured it was just another accessory out of many of them. It's not. That's his hair, and that surprised me. As a character, I think he's interesting. I think he's cooler than Rengoku, but he was probably, at least from face value, because I didn't really know much about any of them when you originally see them, but Rengoku was probably my least favorite. He was the one that I looked at and I'm like, I'm not interested in learning about you. And he was fine, but I feel like this guy has more to him, and that he's not just mindlessly good, which is fun.
You know what I just realized is that the ninja guy wears a Naruto headband.
He does. That's his thing.
Yeah, I like how he does provide a little bit of that gray area, in that he's good, but he may not be good for good reasons entirely, which you get from a lot of the Hashira, especially when you first met them, when they were determining Tanjiro and his sister's fate, when they kind of sort of took, not kidnapped, but took them back, and then they're like, well, should we just kill her? Because even Rengoku, I think, was like, yeah, I don't want her around. But some of them were really hardcore, wanting to just destroy her immediately, and didn't even want to hear anything about it. So I'm glad that they're venturing out with a Hashira dude who may not be entirely wholesome or want to.
You mean kidnapping children to sell into prostitution is not wholesome?
No, that's totally fine. That's G-rated.
This entire arc is conceptually weird, but I'm all about it. It's the most fun setting that I think we've had in Demon Slayer so far.
Yeah, the entertainment district, which is obviously a euphemism.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the desires of men and women, whatever those may be. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Bowling.
Yeah, bowling and skee ball.
The bowling district arc.
The bowling district.
If Patreon made them make a censored version, that's what it would wind up being.
No, they'd be a little cheekier with and call the cornhole arc.
Oof.
I mean, the entertainment district arc is already kind of the censored version of the red light district arc, which is what it actually is.
Is that the official title? Because I've only seen the anglicization of it.
Yeah, I think Yukaku is red light district.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
And I mean, it doesn't play around about it. It's very obviously a red light district.
Oh,
absolutely. For sure.
It's
the whole place is bathed in red.
Right, yeah. In One Piece, in the current arc, which has been going on for 3 or 4 years, they are in Japanland, and there is a red light district in Japanland, and it has some of the same elements, but, One Piece is meant to be a little more family friendly, so they're a little less explicit about what you really go to the red light district for. So this is at least honest about that.
A really interesting part of Japanese history that was like such a prominent thing back then.
Yeah.
All cities have that area.
Yeah, but I mean, Japan had the entire like geisha culture, which is not really like a thing where like, we don't idolize prostitutes in anywhere else.
No,
like, it was
no,
just
but
them.
Geisha were like more than prostitutes.
Yeah,
It'd
they
be more like,
absolutely, and that's the interesting part of it. Like,
yeah, you look back at the early 1900s and the whole burlesque thing and
they were
those
idols basically.
Yeah,
and it's never like that industry has never been that big and prominent and accepted anywhere else.
Right,
at least not to my knowledge.
The key word there. Because, yeah, like, there's such high social status for the best prostitute.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly show that here in the show as well, where, like, the best lady of the house essentially runs
worshipped.
the place. Yeah, they get worshipped and they run the place.
Yeah.
The only person they answer to is the person who owns the building, and even then, that seems more of a formality.
It's the same thing in the current arc of One Piece. They have an Oiran character, and, yeah, they are worshipped as, the greatest in exactly the same way. So, yeah, definitely a unique scenario in Japanese history.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do with Uzui if they even try to make him, give him, a tragic backstory that makes you like him, because he's more interesting, but he's certainly, at least for me, not super likable. In a way, but that doesn't mean he's a bad character. But typically, these shows will do is then
I don't like him as a person.
Right.
Yeah, and then typically, but what these shows will try and do, and it's hinted at in the opening, which I watch, by the way.
What?
Is that they show him with that classic black and white scene with all those dead people around, and then he's standing there in the rain, and it's like, is this how they're going to try and humanize him a little more to show this is why he's so mean? Mm-hmm. Or whatever.
I mean, he's not as mean as some of the other Hashira, who I'm sure...
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they all have tragic demon backstories. I hope they're not all too repetitive, but I'm sure he does.
So, yeah, I guess I'm curious to see at what point in the story do we get that episode.
Mm-hmm.
DJ, what do you think about Zenitsu this time around? In the entertainment arc, I think he's
more
better.
Bearable.
Yeah, I think he's certainly better.
He's still the worst, but he's not nearly as bad as he normally is.
No, he isn't. I agree. He's way more tolerable this time around.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of entertaining at times with his whole Shamisen playing bit. That was fun. There have been some fun moments, usually at his expense, but even in his worst moments, he's definitely not as unbearable as in the previous seasons.
I think Inosuke is probably my favorite, consistently my favorite during this arc. Mm-hmm. And I always forget what he looks like without the boar head on.
He was the only one that had a shot at passing as a girl.
He's kind of a pretty girl.
Yeah.
He just wasn't allowed to talk, which I'm glad they brought that up, because I was thinking that the whole time. I was like, he can't utter a single word in this house.
There's no way.
And I like how, I think the last episode, when Tanjiro reveals that he's a boy, the Oiran is like, yeah, no shit. That was obvious to anyone who saw you or heard you. There's no question at all.
Yeah, all they did was put a bow in his hair.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder why exactly, if the only reason the houses accepted them was because Uzui was so handsome.
Right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They knew right away.
Tanjiro literally just got the Miss Pac-Man treatment.
Yeah. Well, Tanjiro did do a hella good job cleaning up that place. So they got that out of him, I guess.
Yeah, they all knew he was a guy, but they were like, yeah, he's a good worker, whatever.
Yeah, hard worker. He has to tell the truth or his face turns into into a golem.
Yeah. Yeah, this show definitely has good faces.
Mm-hmm. I like the Shamisen scene too that you had mentioned where Zenitsu just starts shredding on it.
Yeah. Because he's so angry that he was the last to be picked.
I forgot that. Was that hinted at before that he could play instruments well? I want to say
so.
I want to say it may have been mentioned at one point.
It totally blindsided me. So
Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering. I do know when I was watching it, I was just waiting for it to happen. I was like, he's just going to start shredding on this thing, because I can't think of any way this scene ends without that happening.
Why would this scene exist if that doesn't happen?
Right, exactly. I like the idea that he is just so good at it because he's so angry. Like, he's never touched a shamisen in his life. He's just that angry.
That's not how instruments work.
It is in this show.
Well, depending on the genre of music you play, DJ, that can definitely be how it works.
If you're a vocalist for a hardcore band,
Or if all you gotta do is learn one power chord, and then you just jam the shit out of that over and over again for your basement power violence band.
power. Oh my god, that's a genre I've not heard in a long time.
Then you might be okay. But yeah, I'm glad that Oran did mention that she knew Tanjiro was a dude right away, because I was starting to wonder a little bit. I was like, does no one else realize this poor facade?
Right.
Yeah, though unfortunately this was the show I was talking about before, where I don't like how it uses humor sometimes, and it was particularly in that episode with Rengoku's family that I didn't like it. This was shortly after Tanjiro headbutted Shinjiro, the dad, and they're sitting there talking, and I think Tanjiro says, "I'll headbutt anyone who does that," and then his little brother goes, "That won't be necessary," and then it just cuts to a stupid face, and then that's just where that particular scene ends.
Yeah.
And I was like, this didn't need a humor part. It was perfectly fine being a nice little exchange between these two characters talking about, Rengoku, though I know that's their last name, but Rengoku's dad and his feelings towards both Kyojiro and the younger brother whose name I forget. But I didn't like how it cut to a dumb face, and then that's where the scene ended, because A, it wasn't funny, and B, it just felt like it undercut the drama that it was trying to build up in what was a very somber environment at that point in time. Like, they were in a dim room drinking tea after something relatively traumatic just happened. So...
Yep.
Yeah, that show definitely uses humor strangely and often not well.
It's a little random, but my biggest gripe with Your Lie in April is that it did that same exact thing, where it's a really serious moment and then it just goes to like super exaggerated, like chibi weird art, and it ruins the moment. It's like, why did you do that? Like, it's A, not funny, and B, kind of belittles everything that happened before it. I don't get why they feel so inclined to make the anime more anime when it's functioning perfectly well without being that way.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's something that bothers me. And multiple anime do it. Sometimes I wonder if it's because they're afraid that they get too serious at a point in time, and then they have to pound it back into you that, hey, this is...
how do we make it lighthearted again?
Yeah, okay, by the way, this is a kid's show.
Instant tone jump.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah. And it entirely undermines the animators. Like, the animators' work and the director's work to make the show feel that way for those couple minutes that the scene's happening, and then they're like, oh, by the way, forget everything we just did. Dumb face. So, everything else is perfect for me at this point, other than it does that, and it fucking annoys the shit out of me.
Yeah, it is the classic Shonen Jump balance, and some properties definitely do it better than others, but I get annoyed by it in quite a few.
Yeah, but yeah, everything else about the show has been great. It's just that part. Did any of you guys think when Shinjiro first... I'm curious to see what you thought. When he first shows up, when Tanjiro is there to deliver news and Shinjiro is clearly drunk and is saying all these mean things, did any of you guys also think that clearly all of that's a facade? Because that's kind of what it is in the end of that episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that was just obvious or not, because at least to me, I was thinking, he doesn't mean all this, because look how drunk he is. If he didn't care, he wouldn't be getting belligerently drunk about it.
I knew there was something more, but I didn't think that he was like intentionally being an asshole. Like I think that he's an asshole to some extent, like just as a person.
Yeah.
Sure. To me, To me, it definitely felt like a super overcompensation, though. Kind of like those kids in school, if you remember when you were younger, that get really mad when you tease them, but then they go, "I'm not mad. I'm not even mad. I'm laughing. I'm not even mad."
They're very clearly mad,
but very clearly upset and mad. But then try to pass it off very poorly. That's the feeling I got from him. He was like,
interesting.
If he really didn't care as much and he thought Kyojuro was as much of a waste of a person as he keeps saying, he wouldn't be so emotionally wrapped up in it at that point in time. Sense. He would have just brushed it off. He would have been like a waste. Like, those are the dads that you know in anime and, movies and TV shows, period, that when they brush off a family member's death nonchalantly, that's when you know that they were serious about not caring about it.
I think Kane spoiled the thing.
But, it is what it is.
We can put a warning in.
I think at this point we're talking about it, and it's had a movie and a whole story arc. We can just put a spoiler thing in it. It's too hard to talk about that without mentioning what happens. But yeah. So I wanted to know what you guys thought about that. But
yeah, I agree that he's a very broken person and does a lot of self-medicating and overcompensating.
Yeah. when the younger brother's like, "Oh, he's fine. He actually went to go buy liquor." It's like, I don't know if that means he's fine or not. He was just conscious enough to walk down to the store. But so I'm glad you guys are all enjoying it as well, because it's been super good. So
yeah, I will mention that I think Mugen Train worked a lot better as a movie than as a TV series arc, which is not surprising because I think it was clear from some of the episode breaks that there was not meant to be a break there, because that was not how the movie was designed. So yeah, I think for future rewatches, I'll probably go with the movie for that arc.
I'll probably watch the movie just to draw a comparison, because I looked at it, like, even experiencing it for the first time, I watched it and I was like, this would be better as a movie.
That'd be a good experiment. Oh, one more thing I want to say about it before we move on. I am always impressed by how the show blends its use of CGI with, like, hand-drawn art, in that it feels natural even when you can tell it's CGI.
Yeah, Ufotable has definitely been working on that for a long time, and their compositing department is like the best in the industry.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like when they use CGI,
as much as that to them.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like I don't understand why they use CGI in some scenes. But even when they do, it feels quite like natural, at least as far as anime CGI is concerned, and is used in ways that amplify the story rather than just being like, we want to put a school bus in this scene just to have a school bus, but it's going to be CGI.
I think it's just, it saves time to do it like that. And I'm sure there's a little more to it, but it's a lot easier to CG animate a giant fucking tentacle monster just going to town than it is to hand draw it all.
Well, the scene I was thinking of in particular where I was wondering why they did it was when Tanjiro is on the roof of the one building after he leaves the house he was working at, and he's crouched and he smells something, and they do a camera pan, and for that small bit, that little pan, he's CGI. And then he's not anymore the next scene, and I don't know if maybe it was just easier to do that than just hand animate a pan across.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, because that wasn't like a tentacle monster or anything. He was the only thing in that scene that was moving, because the rest was like a still cityscape. He was just on the roof and could smell something, and then they kind of panned around to his face from like a side profile to a head-on profile.
Yeah, you get that with like small characters in the background often, and I've seen this show do it a few times as well. I think in the first episode, like right at the beginning, you get a CG Tanjiro running around a little bit. So yeah, sometimes Ufotable uses CG more than I would like them to, but usually it works out better than most studios manage. The Mugen train, when it was assimilating with the demon, I think that was probably the only time in the show that I didn't think the CG looked very good.
Which part? Sorry.
When the demon, like, takes over the train, and it's a weird worm monster. And it's all, like, weird and shiny and goopy, and looks fake. It doesn't look like it really blends in with the rest.
And was that in both the TV show and the movie?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I imagine it would be. It's not like they totally recreated it. They just chopped up the movie, so.
Right. Yeah, they shuffled a few scenes around. I guess they added a little bit, but nothing of note. Right. And then they added the new Rengoku episode at the beginning.
Indeed. But yeah, I'm thoroughly ready to move on then. After I think I've said all I wanted to say at this point.
But move on to what?
I want to talk to Kestrel about Blue Period.
Okay.
I think. Even after I'd like sort of accidentally spoiled it for you because I didn't know you were on vacation.
I mean, you didn't say anything spoilery.
No, I didn't.
A character has time in the next episode.
Man, I am so glad they pulled that shit out of what I thought they were gonna do. I need to bring up a webpage with the character names on it real quick because I really am awful with character names. Ryuji? Yuka, yes.
Ryuji is their dead name.
Yes. I thought, well, I'm still a little bit confused about that part, especially after their hotel thing, because it seems like that's in flux.
The gender identity is in flux, but they definitely prefer that name.
Right. I'll have to rewatch it almost, because I gotta figure it out. But man, I was so concerned that Blue Period was gonna pull a bring out your gays situation. And I was like, no, just don't do this. Like, don't be the anime that finally gets, like, LGBT character that has a lot of, like, layers and is interesting and is experiencing some strife, and don't just use them as, like, a trauma platform.
Mm-hmm.
Because, man, they were really going hard with that for a little. And it was bothering me. It was the only thing I didn't... It was really the only thing I didn't like about the show, sans the fact that its art is kind of bad, which is ironic.
Right.
But I really thought they were going to just be like, here's Yuka, you know, Yaguchi's friend and person who got Yaguchi into art and is good at art as well, etc., etc. And then they spend the rest of the show being like, and here's Yuka's life falling into shambles. Culminating with them killing themselves or whatever as a way to give dramatic weight to Yaguchi's story or whatever, since Yuka is I would say a major part of his development as an artist in multiple aspects now, that we've gotten this many episodes into it, since Yuka did kind of disappear for a long time. But man, was I fucking relieved. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it. I think my favorite part is Yaguchi's struggles of becoming a quote-unquote successful artist, in that he doesn't just work and gets good and then consistently makes really good paintings and stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He, in fact, does what a lot of people do when they get good at something and strike it rich the first time, is they try to copy that, and it just doesn't work. Because the emotional subject matter of the piece that's a copy isn't nearly the same, and they talk about that a little bit, not only copying others, but then Yaguchi even tries to copy himself at one point, and it doesn't work. So I really enjoy how they portray kind of the difficulties and the struggles with not only being an artist, but just being a successful kind of creative person, and how hard that can be emotionally, especially when you do compare yourself to others. And it is a competition in a sense. So yeah, it's got what, one episode left, or is it up already and I just haven't watched it?
No, it comes out on Saturdays, so yeah, it's probably got one left.
Yeah, because it'll be basically the end of the exam.
Yeah.
For the art school.
I'm definitely enjoying all of the characters' struggles and their various arcs. I think there's a good variety of insecurities portrayed in the show.
For sure.
So yeah, you've got Yaguchi, who is new to art and is still trying to understand what really makes great art, and it's like the most impossible thing to understand because it's completely subjective. And, you know, he views people like Yotasuke as geniuses, but then Yotasuke is like, you have everything. Why would you need to come into my world where this is the only thing I have?
You're a Chad.
Yeah, right. It reminds me a little bit of some of the things that I love about Fruits Basket, where, you know, various characters will be jealous of each other because they only see their own weaknesses and other people's strengths. And if they could, you know, see it from the other perspective, then they would feel completely differently, which is something that resonates with me a lot. And then, yeah, obviously Yuka has been a major focus finally in the last few episodes. And yeah, I mean, you know, having a LGBT character who is given that much character development in an anime that is not about like Yuri or Yaoi or whatever is a nice thing to see. It did seem for a while like they were just kind of there to represent all of those traumas that gay people can go through. But I did appreciate the recent reveal of, like, you know, the identity that I present isn't even entirely what I'm comfortable with. It's just kind of what I've felt like people expect of me. And, you know, they're too nuanced for, you know, even a relatively accepting environment, which would be fine with them just being normal trans as those people would see them. So yeah, I think a lot of the main characters and a lot of the other people in the cram school have their own struggles to go through because it's a very stressful environment, and, you know, trying to create art and believe in yourself and all the physical traumas that go with it. It's definitely engaging. I wish it looked better. I wish the adaptation was better in general, but I look forward to continuing to read the manga.
Yeah, I like how characters like Yaguchi and none of the other like students that he works with get as much development, obviously, but I imagine they go through the same struggles. But it's interesting because it's frustrating to watch, but also enjoyable in that Yaguchi makes the same mistakes a lot of the time when he's making art. Like, there isn't just like, he doesn't level up, to use video game terms. He doesn't just figure out how something in art works and then now he never makes that mistake again. Like, a mistake that Yaguchi makes over and over again is he tries to be way too analytical about art rather than trust his own emotions and instincts. And it's something that comes up all of the time. He didn't just learn to not do that and then never did it again. It's something he constantly struggles with, which is something that people in creative pursuits, regardless of what they are, do. It's why you have some people that, you know, struggle to break out of that, whether it's making movies like Guy Ritchie when every movie seems to be a British crime movie, for better or for worse.
Even when's King Arthur.
Yeah, exactly. But if they're okay with that, that's fine. It's just that can be also, he makes that because it's what he knows and he doesn't know how to make something else, and that's just one example. But yeah, I like how Yaguchi struggles with a lot of the same problems and sort of same obstacles. It isn't just he talks to somebody or reads something in a book and now he just knows not to do that anymore. So I like that. I think that makes him very realistic in that sense when he's trying to create art, especially, as you said, art is hard, not only from the technical standpoint, but also it's, you know, you put yourself out there when you make it, especially in this situation where they always put their art on a rack and then have people judge it. So it can be harder than anything to put yourself vulnerable in that sense, because you're willingly allowing your vulnerabilities to sort of be judged if they're not quote unquote good enough. On an unrelated note, this show also, I think, has the most egregious palette swap character that I've seen in years, and that is Yuka and then that other student that he goes to cram school with, because I thought they were the same person. And now I'm looking at a picture side by side, and it's quite literally the same person, but the hairstyle is the same, the face shape is the same. For the most part, it's just the hair color. One is slightly darker than the other. That's like it. So I was thinking that was Yuka the whole time. So every time they had Yuka and they were talking about how they don't go to art school anymore, I'm like, well, what do you mean? They were just in the last scene.
Which character is this?
Hanako Sakuraba. I have it up on my anime list, but at least to me, I was like, these two look so strikingly similar.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I think that's definitely one of the worst palette swaps I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say the stuff you were talking about earlier. I think it's definitely especially realistic from a character like Yaguchi, who just started pursuing art like a few months ago, because his whole life there has been a right way to do everything, and so he's so certain that there has to be a right way to do it. And what you mentioned about him trying to copy himself, that kind of feeds into his issue with not learning from his mistakes, because in everything that he's done previously in his life, once you do something right, you just keep doing it that way, and that's how you succeed. But in this case, when he does that, his cramped school teacher is like, well, you just copied your last work. There's no originality to this. So, yeah, it's definitely a major shift in thinking.
Yeah, and it can always be so frustrating to reproduce good art, whether it be painting or otherwise, because you want to believe that once you make that first good one that, oh, I've somehow like ascended and now I'm good. But, it can be very, very hard to constantly create what people think is good or successful art, and I'm glad that he doesn't do that. He makes a good piece, and then sometimes they'll show him in class the next day, and he has like 2 or 3 that Uba is the teacher, right? I think, yeah. That is like, this kind of sucks. Like your composition is good, but I don't get the emotion, I don't get the message. So, yeah. I also like how, and this is something that fades a little bit in the later parts of the seasons, and we talked about it already once, but like how his support group is still there, like his friends and his mom supports him, even though they don't quite understand what he does. And that's nice that they show it. Like, you don't need to show a whole lot of scenery about it, but like he has that nice little scene where he eats ramen with one of his friends who says, I'm gonna be a pastry chef. Because I saw that you were pursuing this dream that you had, and it inspired me to do it. And, we always like having you around, even if, you aren't as quote unquote cool as you were. Basically telling him, we just like you for you. Since Yaguchi seems to have also maybe some like, I like to think they are like social anxiety problems, where he feels like he needs to be prepared, quote unquote, for every conversation. Mm-hmm. And needs to know the right things to say that allow him to be included, but almost not like relied upon emotionally in a way, because that's a big sticking point with him and Yuka, is that
exactly
Yaguchi will say all these things, but then he'll never actually put himself out there to help anybody. Mm-hmm. But he'll just say like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
or whatever.
He'll say the correct platitude.
Yeah, he will tell them the correct sports platitude.
Yeah. But he won't, lay his soul raw like they are. He won't meet them there, which he finally does, which is a big thing.
Yeah, I like that episode. That was good.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I like the scene you were talking about, where his big burly friend was like, seeing you be genuine has inspired me, that I don't have to just be like a delinquent. I can be something that people would never expect of me.
Yeah, what was the line? I can't quite remember. It was something like, I think he tells Yaguchi, like, you don't need to be right, we just like hearing you. Mm-hmm. To tell him, essentially, like, you don't always have to have the right things to say. You could just say anything and it's fine, because we like being around you as your friends. The relationship is not just transactional.
Yeah.
You know what the most unrealistic part of the show is?
What?
when Yaguchi says his body is pathetic.
Yeah.
He's buff.
Fucking ripped.
He is buff, and he's like, oh, I'm just a white eraser with a piece of, like, hair on top. I'm like, yeah, all right, shut up.
Yeah. With your 12-pack.
Yeah, with your 12-pack and your developed pecs, and he's like, this body is gross. I'm like, all right.
Which, I mean, you know, everyone can have body image issues, even if they appear gorgeous to the outside. But yeah, it was funny hearing him continually say that as he was drawn as, like, this Greek god.
Yeah, like,
Roman
this
god.
body's pathetic. And I was like,
Yeah.
A, where is this coming from exactly? And B, meh.
But I mean, it kind of fits with his character of, you know, having such inferiority complex despite on paper being so good at everything.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, he's always kind of, feels like he isn't doing enough, or isn't successful enough, or what have you, despite having, like, what's his face says, that he's got friends and he's smart and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like the relationship between him and Yotasuke, where he's like, you didn't need this, I needed this is all I have.
What did you think of the weird obstacle they put for Yaguchi for that day 2 of the exam, kind of out of nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes, but I think the physical exhaustion is something that makes sense to acknowledge at some point, and he hasn't.
But the way
really.
It manifests is weird.
It is a little weird, yeah. It is kind of anime disease.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I haven't heard that before. But yeah, just that it came out of nowhere, because I was trying to, before we recorded, I wanted to think about how I wanted to talk about that particular part with his whole, like, oh, I'm blind now, or, you know, and I just couldn't think of a way to frame it other than, I guess, with exhaustion that they briefly touch upon, you know, every once in a while, and then in the episode with Yuka when they are in the hotel and he falls asleep in the chair and stuff like that. But it was just like, he already has enough problems. Why are we now doing this to him? Especially with, and maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but when he goes to look at the other people's works, he's no further behind.
Yeah, but it's because they had already done all the compositions in their sketchbooks and he hadn't done shit.
Right. So physically he was at the same pace, but it was with the preparation that he was so far behind.
Right.
Right, okay.
They spent, like, the whole first day conceptualizing, and he just put on the background.
Yeah, and he just sat in the fetal position the whole time. Yeah, I think I agree with you in a lot of those ways, that the characters are great, and the vast array of insecurities as they're portrayed is really interesting and well done. It's just, unfortunately, the art, especially faces, can be so bad sometimes. I think Yaguchi has a really shitty face in that episode when him and Yuka go to the hotel, where it's like they clicked and dragged on the top right-hand corner of his head and then shrank it.
Yeah, they're very flat. Like, a character can move their head 360 degrees, and it remains flat the entire time. Maybe that's why he was like, man, my character design sucks.
It's a meta commentary.
Yeah, the animators are really behind schedule.
Yeah, for a show about art, I look like shit.
Right.
Perhaps. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the I'm just gonna guess that's the end of it, because I couldn't really think about where the show would go afterwards, other than if you wanted to see Yaguchi in art school.
I mean, it's definitely not like the full story. Like, there's going to be more in the manga,
right?
Which I will read. But yeah, this is a good stopping point, probably.
Indeed. But yeah, so I'm glad that show stayed good, but we can move on again if you're cool with that.
Yep.
Neat. Let's see, how much time? Okay, we're on an hour and a half. All right, we got some time. We got a little bit of time. You and DJ are both watching Comey, so why don't you guys talk about that a little bit?
Comey's good.
Thank you. Next.
Yeah, next.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's not as impressive as its first episode. That's definitely the highlight of the series so far, but it's still fun, and the characters are very exaggerated, and it's kind of refreshing in a way. It's weird that it is refreshing though, because it's not incredibly unique. It's just another quirky, socially anxious character, and we get a lot of those in anime, but this time it's a little over the top. But in order to compensate for that, everybody else is over the top as well, and they're just a huge combination of strange people acting strangely, and it's fun to watch all of them, and they're all interesting in their own ways, except for Aguri. She sucks.
Would you call her the Zenitsu of Komi-san?
Yeah, that's what I would call her.
That's a rough insult.
Yeah, well, she is a rough character. Yeah, it's fun though. I am enjoying my time with it, and it's already confirmed for another season, and I'm pretty sure it will get another after that, because it's a long fucking manga.
Yeah.
I hope that we can see more out of it in like a similar fashion to what happened with Kaguya-sama, where it was also like that. It's a bunch of characters just being over the top for a while, and then it's like, oh, okay, it actually gets pretty serious, and there's like some serious stuff going on. I don't know if we'll ever get something out of that, or something like that out of this show, but I hope that something like that happens to kind of harken back to the original mystical feel I got when watching the first episode, because ever since then it's just been downhill, but still good. It's a very not steep incline.
Yeah, it's about what I expected, which is what I was hoping it wouldn't be, really. But as a over-the-top gag show, it is definitely consistently fun. So I never regret my time with it. But yeah, knowing what it could have been, it's a little unfortunate when you get like the next 10 episodes are just silly little gags that don't amount to anything.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I guess there's not really much more to say about Komi-san right now, but hopefully there will be after season 2, which we're getting, I think, in 2 seasons.
Well, is there like an overarching storyline that is only kind of just like being brushed upon right now?
Girl
rather than
wants to get over social anxiety, so she practices talking, and she's gonna make 100 friends.
Yep.
Like exactly 100, or you're just saying that as a joke?
Yeah, she can
That's her
quit
goal.
after that.
She can quit. All right, no more friends.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So, what else we're both watching Mushoku Tensei as well,
Both
which
watched.
is a show that, or watched, yeah, because it just finished. That is significantly better than Komi-san in every way, and pretty damn good. I liked season 2 a lot more than I liked season 1, and I liked season 1 a lot. It's starting to set in why exactly this series made such an impact on the genre that it allegedly created. I am all about it, and I love how serious it is, and I love how it doesn't shy away from anything.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely for sure. It's, you don't get that a lot. Like there's certain shit that people are, for good reason, worried about putting into serialized material, and this is just one story that it needs that shit for its world to work. And I think it never comes across as something that's being glorified. It's a little over the top just because the protagonist is an inherent pervert, but it doesn't show things like that in a positive light, and anytime it comes up, it's like, this is a big deal. But it's the entire show. It reeks with that same sort of sentiment, and I really love it so far.
Yeah, I have read past where the series has covered in the light novels. I had I've always been ahead of where the anime is. And I've always loved it. It's got great world building, great plot twists, great intensity. And yeah, I mean, the main character is a piece of shit, but then over the course of the series, you learn about his background, and he has a lot of sympathetic traits, and he works to become a better person over the course of all the years that you follow him. So yeah, there's a lot of good character development as well. And the anime adaptation, they put together this studio like years ago specifically for this project and spent years just making it the most perfect adaptation that it could be, which never happens, which is super awesome and definitely shows.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That makes sense why it's so good now.
Yeah.
It feels similar to how ReZero feels, not in I guess a little bit in tone, but moreover where the stakes are like actually like, okay, shit can go wrong, and it can go wrong very easily, and it's very easy to underestimate how powerful other things that you don't normally see are, because a lot of the time when we get isekai series, it's like, oh, the protagonist is just gonna handle all of the problems easily because he is the protagonist and he has a secret protagonist power that just makes shit easy for him. And Rudius gets his shit rocked a few times in the series, and it's good to watch and keeps you on the edge of your seat because shit can go awry at any moment, and they are not afraid of killing people off.
Yeah, anytime an episode has turning point in the title, you know shit's gonna be real.
Yep. At least they're telling us beforehand.
Right.
Yeah, that episode was fucked. Oh man, that was intense. I was not ready for that. Yeah,
they definitely get that sense of ominous foreboding really powerfully and viscerally. And yeah, the stakes are very
it's always
high.
Accompanied by like an element of world building that we don't know yet. Because that's like what makes it, like Rudius doesn't know what's going on either, and that's why the whole situation's like, oh fuck, this is bad, but why is it bad? Guess we'll find out after it's too late.
Yeah, seeing Rudius's naivete about situations where like his extremely powerful comrades are just frozen in their steps, you know that something's about to go very wrong.
Yeah, that was and like the music just cuts and it's like, okay, this is a bad thing's gonna happen.
Yeah, that was all very well directed.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I love this show. And I like after the first season, I didn't want to say I loved it yet because it was still really early on, and like the only big thing that happened was what leads us into the second season. But now that we're actually like getting into the more intense part of the story, I'm like, okay, I'm fucking all about this. This is gonna be one of my favorite isekai shows by the time it's done, if not my favorite.
Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head one that would rank higher than it, especially coming from the light novels and the anime adaptation. But I guess when a new season of ReZero comes out, it usually bumps up on my list a little bit, and then my enthusiasm dies down a little bit.
ReZero Season 1 is still probably like my pinnacle of isekai. It was just fantastic, in my opinion. And I keep Konosuba up really high as well. So like those two and probably Mushoku Tensei are like my three favorites, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, the studio that was created for this production was spun off of White Fox, like, right after they made ReZero. So, you know, some of the similarities in production kind of make sense there.
Yeah, it's real. Like, the serious parts are super cinematic, which I always thought ReZero did really well, too. It's nice to see more of that.
Actually, ReZero was given to White Fox specifically because I think the original creator wanted it to have the intensity that Steins Gate had.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
They're really good at that. It's just like really serious cinematic moments. Cool. So what else do we have in common, if anything?
That's a good question.
My Senpai is Annoying is a show that happened.
Yeah, that was cute. Much less creepy than it looks like it should be.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pleasant surprise.
Like, exponentially less creepy because she's a grown woman who just happens to be small. I feel like the side romance was the best part of the show, though.
100%. No question.
So good. Like
That seems
that's
to
why I
happen a
kept
lot.
watching it. I just wanted like that story to go on.
Yep, I just want Sakurai and Kazuma all the time.
They're so good together.
That feels like it happens often, because that's how Wodokoi is, too. Which is...
I would disagree with that. I like the main couple in Wodokoi.
I think they're more evenly matched than in the show, where, like, the main couple is funny, but I don't give a shit about their romance compared to the side couple.
It felt like, and I haven't read the manga in a while. It's one of the only
I got
manga
2
that
volumes of it for Becca for Christmas.
Yeah, it's one of the only ones that I actually own, but it did feel like the one side romance between the green-haired woman and red-haired guy. It gets
I think
a lot.
Hana was her name.
Yeah, I think Hana,
Can't remember
and
the
then
guy's name.
and then
the red-haired guy, though.
angry accounting manager.
The angry
gets-
tsundere accounting manager.
Yeah, tsundere accounting manager, tsundere CPA. It got a lot more development in a lot of ways, where they even got their own flashback at one point, I think, in the manga that kind of explains everything about their relationship. It shows
They were a better couple, I will concede. I was just less interested in them.
Yeah, I could see that, especially if you don't like the bickering couple dynamic.
Yeah.
Because that is almost all they do. But that's an older show and older manga, so I don't want to clog up the time talking about it. Though I think the manga's ending or has ended, so I hope we get the ending over here. Yeah.
By the way, I also forgot the names of those characters, so I was just going to say Miyuki Sawashiro and Tomokazu Sugita, because that's all I remember is their Seiyu.
That is more complicated than remembering the character name. And more obscure. If you said that, I would have no idea who you were talking about.
Yeah, but, I see those guys
I recognize
every
the
season.
names.
I don't see this show anymore. It was like 3 years ago. And, like, even my senpai is annoying. It took me a second to remember Sakurai. I was just going to say Saori Hayami.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, she's so good. I love her
She's
voice.
really good. Yeah, she's
It's
great.
just like listening to the air inside of a balloon.
And, like, the one line she gets in the opening, I'm like, oh my god.
Yup.
So good. But yeah, I agree. Sakurai and Cosmo spin-off for 10 more seasons.
The aquarium episode, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good show. Not fantastic. Good, worth watching. Was there
It
anything
was,
else?
in contrast to, like, Blue Period, which we recently talked about, very solid production, I would say. Looks pretty nice.
Good.
Doesn't do much, but it looks
Dogakobo
nice.
did this, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like anytime there is a short girl with an inferiority complex, I feel like there's a good chance that Dogakobo does it, because this is the third show I've watched from them where that is the case. It's 'cause there was this, there is fucking there's New Game, and then Comic Girls. It's all three of those. Like the same main character basically.
See, the only thing I could think of was Toradora, which they did not do. But
They did not do
suppose-
that, no. Yeah, but Taiga is another one of those characters.
Yeah,
She's one of the Rie Kugamiya ones, though.
that's true, yeah. That's a
They're
different
their
breed.
own branch of
Yeah.
characters.
What'd you say the trope was? What, short girls with an inferiority
Short
complex?
girls with inferiority complexes.
Ah,
just,
now is
like,
that now is it
surrounded
played
by,
is it played
like,
comedically?
Yeah, it's a comedic. It's always a short girl who is just like the new girl in the office, and like they just have to survive and feel less bad about how short they are. It's the third time this has happened.
I guess that is a pretty specific character trait.
Yeah. But they do it well, so good for them. Yeah. Anime.
Indeed.
Any other shows anybody wants to say anything about?
I haven't finished watching JoJo yet, so unfortunately I can't talk about it. I don't know why I haven't finished it. I have no excuse.
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit last episode, but yeah, it's real good. And I liked having an entire core to binge, but it's really painful to have to wait 3 months now.
I think that's what I'm going to use as my reason that it's not done, because I'm trying to savor it.
Yeah, that's
it would be a lie, but it would be a believable one.
Good excuse.
Yep. But that's about it for me, because I'm watching JoJo, and then I watched those other 3 shows that we already talked about. So
I will. I'll briefly say that the new PA Works show, The Aquatope on White Sand, is the English title. It's good. It lost some steam in the middle, like a lot of steam, but the way it ends and the first part of the series, I think, make it pretty damn good at the end of the day. And as always, PA Works does not struggle to get their themes across. I will say that the absence of Mario Okada is felt, but not. It would make her proud, I guess we could say, at the end of the day, because there is a really important message that they managed to get across, and they do it by showering us with another ensemble cast of people trying to find their way in the world, which is just what they do best. So, good show if you like fish or aquariums or animals in general. I definitely recommend watching it. I almost cried probably like 8 times, but I have a big soft spot for animals, so it was a show that was meant for me.
Does it end with all of the characters shouting their feelings at each other?
No, because like I said, Mario Okada's not there.
I was gonna say, if it did that, then it's definitely taken a cue out of her book.
I love that that's just her thing. Oh man, no, that doesn't happen. But I would have supported it if it did.
I did drop that show in the middle when it was running out of steam, so yeah. Probably won't go back, but
there was a solid, like, I want to say 8 to 10 episodes where I didn't really know what they were doing. Like, I didn't know what the purpose of the show was anymore.
Yeah.
But like they get it back across near the end, and it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's if that middle part was as polished as the beginning and the end, I love it. It's just it's one of the. It's weird saying this. I'd say it's one of the better recent PA Works shows, but that's because we're coming off of stuff like The World in Color, which was really lackluster in my opinion, and it looked nice, but it struggled really making me care. This show is able to make me care, and that's what I like from PA Works. I like feeling like I'm a part of the group, and I never felt like that with a few of the other more recent shows.
Yeah, I dropped it when I stopped caring, because at a certain point I was like, I've seen the show before, it was done better in the past, and especially when I found out that it was going to be 2 cores, so it was nearing the end of the first core, and I was like, I'm not invested in these characters at the moment, I'm out.
Yeah,
Do you think it should have been 1 core?
No. I will hold true to that with most PA Works stuff, because I feel like 12 episodes isn't normally enough to get attached to characters to the point where they can teach me some sort of lesson. There are obviously some exceptions to that, but with how slow moving PA Works is just as a studio, not like technically, but the way they tell stories, I feel like making them 12 or 13 episodes instead of 24 would force them to quicken the pace, and it would kind of ruin the immersion, I guess, for me, because I'd feel rushed to start caring about these characters, and it's just easier for me to kind of feel at home after a second core. Like, I can't imagine Sakura Quest working with 1 core. I can't imagine Shirobako working with 1 core, and so I put this show in the same category as those, and for that reason, I can't imagine it working that well.
Interesting. Yeah, it's very bizarre that the works that they have done with Key, which also has very long stories, have all been 1 core.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I feel like there was a time where I understood how anime series got portioned out into seasons and stuff, and now nothing makes sense anymore.
I think it's just a madhouse now. Or like, I feel like not even the creators normally know.
86 has had some production issues this season. It's had like 3 one-week delays for episodes, and they've pushed out the last 2 episodes of the season 3 months.
I feel like that's just COVID related.
Could be.
I mean, it hasn't happened to any other production recently, but it still looks great, so at least they're making sure they have the time to keep the quality consistent instead of just, rushing through it and getting a blue period.
I felt weird dropping 86 where I did.
What do you say you 86'd it?
Yes, I would say that. No, I mean, like, I don't think I've ever dropped anything halfway through the 2nd season before.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like every week I kept feeling like I was just giving it another chance to like prove me wrong, and I couldn't do it anymore. I ran out of chances.
All right. Well, that sounds like everyone's kind of gotten it out of their system. If we want to start closing up shop for the evening.
All right.
Sounds good.
Recommendations. So my main recommendation is for everyone with the proper prerequisites to watch Spider-Man No Way Home if they have not, which they probably have.
Prerequisites.
You might not be
What
aware
level
of
do I
all
have
of
to
the
be?
prerequisites involved.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. It is possibly the worst film ever created to watch in a vacuum.
Oh.
I'd say that's almost every Marvel movie past a certain time frame. Maybe
But there's that on top of everything else.
Yeah, like, have you seen every Sony Spider-Man movie?
Right.
Oh yeah, because of the characters they bring back from those. That's right.
Yeah, every other continuity, some of the other Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff that hasn't been acknowledged in the films before. Kind of everything. Basically, if you've seen every single Marvel production ever made, then you might be prepared for this movie.
I feel like that's just how it's going to be from now on.
That's definitely true for having seen all of the MCU films up to this point. But yeah, the multiverse concept also adds in the wrinkle of also any previous continuity might be canon.
It's all canon. Everything in Marvel is canon if it's a universe that has a number.
Yeah. And
they all have numbers, so...
Right. Once the multiverse is introduced in one universe, then you get to explore all of the other universes that came before it, which is what's happening now.
And Disney just gets to keep making that fucking cash, baby.
Well, in this case, they get to make it for Sony.
Yeah.
That's most of it. But yeah, it's a big old mess with all the different, even just Spider-Man universes being kind of canon to each other now.
Wild.
Yeah. Also
cool, but wild.
Yeah. Oh, and I love it. By the way, that's why I'm recommending it. It's by far my favorite MCU thing so far.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And you've watched like all of it, haven't you?
I've watched all of the movies and all of the Disney Plus series. This movie makes me...
You realize who you're talking to, DJ.
Well, I haven't watched all the previous TV series because I was a decade late getting into the franchise. And there's a fucking lot of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. And there are some just garbage series that never get acknowledged. But this one makes me think maybe I should be watching the old Netflix series that were done for it as well. But yeah, I would put this at like a very close number 3 of like my top superhero movies ever. It's probably Into the Spider-Verse, then The Dark Knight, then No Way Home, but they're all very close up there.
Does MCU question, does Legion count as part of the MCU?
What is Legion?
Legion is an X-Men spin-off psychological drama TV series.
Probably not, because I haven't done anything with X-Men yet.
Okay.
Because they just got the rights back from, they acquired Fox and just killed their X-Men franchise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They enveloped another company.
Right. But
Legion's fucking whack, dude. That show is a trip. It's so, like, weird. It's just the strangest thing on TV.
So, you might remember a few seconds ago I said, no, that doesn't count. I take that back. Because because the multiverse, therefore, probably all the X-Men shit from Fox is going to get incorporated eventually.
Okay. Cool.
We already know Deadpool is going to, because they're not
At
recasting
the
Ryan
moment,
Reynolds.
it's not, but it will be soon. It's tentatively a part of the MCU.
Right. Probably anything that has ever involved Marvel will eventually get folded into this in some crazy, messy way.
Okay. My recommendations, I'll go next. I have two. The first is that the second season of The Witcher came out on Netflix, and it's great. If you like The Witcher, you should watch it. If you don't like The Witcher, you should still watch it. It's a good series. Obviously, watch season 1 first if you haven't. But the second recommendation is a Yuri series that I talked about a lot when it came out. Adachi and Shimamura is coming out on Blu-ray on February 1st. And if you like well-written Yuri shows, this is a show for you. It's fantastic, and it has one of the most unique writing styles I have seen. Probably the most unique writing style I've seen in Yuri specifically. But those are mine.
I guess I'll mention also the first episode of The Book of Boba Fett came out today, and I watched it immediately before recording this. And it's
What
pretty
is
good.
that on?
That is Disney Plus.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you are caught up on your Star Wars, especially The Mandalorian, check that show out. They are, because, Jon Favreau started the MCU, really, with Iron Man, and he's the creator of The Mandalorian, and Disney is like, do the thing again, and he's like, all right, I'll make a bunch of spin-offs of The Mandalorian and cross them all over with each other. So this is the first of those.
My recommendation is watch The Wheel of Time, only if you're not a Wheel of Time book fan. I never read the books. I like the TV show quite a bit. People who are fans of books are all over the fucking place. So that's my recommendation. It's 8 episodes. The middle part's really good. The opener and finale are not so good. Everything in the middle is great. They had a real shit time with the COVID reshooting after COVID. There was issues in that final episode, but yeah, COVID fucks things up for TV production. Who knew? I don't know. That's my only recommendation.
Mine would be to go out and, if they're still available, buy the Cartoon Saloon Irish Mythology Trilogy Blu-ray set. Because I'm watching through them for the first time, and all the movies have been great. The 2 out of the 3. And if you don't want to give Apple any money, this is the only way to watch Wolfwalkers.
That's true.
Because
I didn't even know that existed right now, at the moment.
Yeah, because right now the only way to watch Wolfwalkers, if you don't own this Blu-ray set, is to subscribe to Apple TV Plus or whatever it's called for a month. And then I believe G-Kids said they don't plan on releasing Wolfwalkers as an individual Blu-ray. You have
What?
Yeah, they said that at Anime NYC, which was very strange.
Yeah.
That's fucked
I would
up.
not be surprised if that was some weird contract negotiation thing they had to do with Apple to get the rights to distribute it.
Probably, yeah.
Oh man,
Like-
that means I'm gonna have to buy the other 2 movies all over again. Fuck.
Sell
What do
your
I do with
current
the other
copies.
ones? I guess I'll give them to my niece and nephew.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Share them around.
Yeah, go out and buy that if you can, because it's also a really nice set. It's packaged a little weirdly in the way that the discs are stored inside the box, but it's a really nice set. The discs are stored like a picture book, like one of those really thick cardboard paper picture books that you get for kids, so that's really cool, and the box is great, and it comes with a booklet and all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, definitely go out and watch those. The animation is fantastic, and so are the stories.
Oh, I would have put this on my Christmas list had I known it existed. Curse you! Where were you, back when I was making this list?
I didn't realize.
If you subscribed to G-Kids newsletter, you would have seen it.
Oh, Guess that's my next mission in life.
And the price isn't bad either. I think it was like $60 for the set, which you pay $20 per movie, which before I ordered the set, when they announced it, I think A, you couldn't get Wolf Walkers period and still can't, and B, the other two had been like out of print or something because Blu-rays were already like $20 a piece for used copies.
Mm-hmm.
So paying $60 for all three in a nice box set brand new is quite a deal considering their availability otherwise.
I can't find a link to it. I might be sole. I might never be able to buy this movie.
I mean, I think you'll find it on Shout Factory's website. I think that's where I got my copy at least.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then that is acceptable.
But yeah, so that's my recommendation. But if that's it, I think we can say adios for the evening then. So
you can find the podcast everywhere you find podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review. We're on Apple Podcasts. You know, if you want to do more Apple stuff, at least you don't have to give them money. We are on Google Podcasts. We are on Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Alexa, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Facebook, podcasts, fandompost.com, all those places. And you can follow us on social media, Facebook and Twitter, at Fandom Post Radio. Follow us, get in contact with us, share our stuff, and you can also get in contact with us via email, fandompostradio@gmail.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma.
You can follow me on Twitter at DJ No Style, and you can find my freshly censored video game on patreon.com/lessonsinlove.
Nice. You can find me just right here. I don't do anything else, so the only time you have to hear my voice is listening to this podcast, so you're welcome.
Exclusive. You can find me on Twitter at SonicBug, and find my reviews on fandompost.com, obviously, because this is our podcast, and that's our website. And the most recent thing I wrote was a review of that first season of Wheel of Time. So you can go read what my thoughts on that. And they're pretty non-spoilery, so have at it. And that's all, I think.
Sounds like it.
Thank you for joining us. Tune in next episode for our year in review spectacular, as we do every year around this time. Hey, maybe we can get Darius to tweet it out to the universe and get a bazillion listeners like that one time. Yeah. Tell us, give us some ideas for the new year for episodes of stuff you want to hear. You can hunt us down on the on our Twitter accounts or anywhere, or just scream into the void. We'll probably hear it, maybe. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. See you next year, I guess.
See ya.
See ya.
Goodbye.